Hey everyone, welcome to L7 Mini Labs, and in this video, non-metallic metals using contrast paints. I might have actually gone mad. So this is a video I've wanted to do for a long time based on a couple of prompts. So the first one has to be Uncle Latham over at Tabletop Minis put out a video the other day reminding everybody that contrast paint has been out for about a year now, which, you know, who knew? And I remember when they first came out, I was here in the local store in Guildford in the UK playing with them and thinking they'd be great for glazing. And not long after that, Darren Latham the great Darren Latham, put out a blog post on his workflow for contrast paint NMM. And I thought it was cool because I tried to recreate some of his stuff in the past, and you can see here, you know, my Stormcast Eternal based on his workflow that it was kind of, I thought it was a nice thing that I do that and now do this. And so what I wanted to do was paint a couple of minis, Stormcast Eternals, because I have a bunch of them, and do a comparison between the contrast NMM on one side of the mini and my kind of standard or my current non-metallic metal workflow on the other, so I could do a like-for-like comparison. And so you can see here that I'm starting out with standard Stormcast from the box set, from the starter box set, and I've used an airbrush to lay down some VI and yellow to try and get a nice even coat. This is over Wraithbone that's zenithally applied, so not an extreme zenithal highlight. And the effect you can see here, you're sort of forced into glaze blending, push glaze blending the paint around. It's incredibly thin, and obviously if you haven't already worked out, I'm using the contrast medium here with the contrast paint to try to thin it, to try to reduce the coffee staining or the watermarking that is quite common with the paint, or at least in my experience it's quite common. And what I'm doing is I'm using a wet palette as well to keep it as mobile and as kind of fluid as possible. Now that presents its own problem insofar as the paint is incredibly liquid. It is effectively a transparent glaze, and I am finding it incredibly difficult to make the paint do what I want with the sort of the way I would normally work with this kind of application. And because you are forced into starting with the highlight and working down into the shadows, you can see here that I'm having to actually reapply Wraithbone to get some highlight back, because on a number of occasions the paint either didn't go where I wanted it to go, or I didn't quite glaze it in the right way, and I lost the highlight. Now I think this is a combination of the fact that I'm very new to this approach, and it's a totally different sort of application of a non-metallic effect that I would normally do. I would often balance, between the lights and the darks, and I'd work the blend back and forth so that it was exactly where I wanted it to be with the paint. But equally, and I think I have to be honest here, I'm very new to painting under a camera, and so this is by far not comfortable for me, and I'm not used to doing it yet. So it's not my best paint job by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, I think I've got a reasonably good idea of what the overall approach is, and with some practice and with some patience, I think you could get a very nice result. Yes, would you in reality? I'm not sure, and I'll talk about that in a second. But my results here, you can see I've got the photo of the two next to each other, and on the one mini, I've just got contrast NMM on one of the Stormcast, the one with the blue shoulder pads. I actually made the effort of putting on the painted NMM on the left-hand side as you're looking at it. And I think that in this shot I've kind of worked it a little bit, and I've tried to make it off camera. I've tried to make it as sort of as good as I can make it. I think they're comparable to each other. I think the effects look very nice. You can see the shininess, the glossiness of the contrast paint kind of comes through here, especially in this comparison. I'm using a lot of matte paint. I use a lot of scale 75 paint in my normal workflow, which means that it's very matte finish. I haven't applied a matte varnish over the the finished minis here, and you know, my normal kind of non-metallic metal line of paints, you can see here where I'm using some watercolors black, I'm using Vallejo brown, I'm using a range of the golds from the scale 75 non-metallic metal, and I'm also using GW paint, a bit of Wraithbone here and there, and I adore the legit Snakebite Leather. Now I know that Squidmar put out a video talking about how you could probably create that using a combination of Scrofulous yellow or Scrofulous brown, anyway, Vallejo, and Mournfang brown. Scrofulous yellow, Mournfang brown. And I'm going to try that. I haven't tried doing that yet. But anyway, that's a massive digression on my part. I liked the concept of doing this, and I have to massively thank Darren Latham for doing it and showing that it is a completely feasible workflow. I have to say, based on my limited trial, that maybe it's not for me. It might be absolutely for you. I would say that the way that you're forced into applying the paint, you're forced, you know, keep the highlights and you have to go down to the shadows. It's so counter to what I'm used to doing, and the fact that the paint is so mobile and so fluid, it is, you know, you have to glaze. I didn't really bond. I didn't really kind of jive with the workflow particularly well. So there you go. My thoughts and opinions, experiment number 1 on the channel, and if you've got through this and enjoyed it, absolutely thank you for watching, and I salute you for sticking around this long. You know, if you liked what you saw, please share and subscribe. Thumbs up, obviously. If you didn't, thumbs down, and please let me know what it was that you didn't like, because I'm new to this and I need to get better. And yeah, please, I'll see you next time around for more experiments.